Hello, welcome back to everyone that's tuned into our channel, American Ultra Stock. Here we are today. I'm joined by Braden and Arjun. Braden has the info right behind him. We're bringing to you guys the La Liga table predictions. This one's a really exciting league. We saw last year how everyone could get relegated, everyone could get into Europe. A lot of changes every year too. It's not a consistent league where we see the same positions for every club, at least not in the top three. And we're going to start from the bottom as we were doing with all the top 5 leagues that we were previewing for you guys. Check that out, those videos as well. So starting my predictions from 20th to 15th, the clubs that I think will be battling relegation. And we've seen that even clubs placed in 12th can battle relegation in this league. But I have Granada. I don't really rate them too much. There were a lot of instability in terms of signings this summer, a little bit of disagreement with the board. And they also struggled in La Liga too last year. It's not like they had a great season. It's still conceded quite a lot. I have Granada in last. I don't think they will do too much this year. Next, right ahead of them, I have Las Palmas. I know they've made some signings. They have the GOAT Araujo there, but I don't think they will do too well. It's nothing against them. I think they have a nice stadium. I like their colors. But I think Las Palmas is going to get relegated as well. And above them, the team that I hate the most personally in La Liga, Rayo Vallecano. I don't like them at all. I don't like anything about the history of their club. I don't like what they stand for. Nothing, absolutely nothing. I don't like the logo, the stadium. I'm sorry. And I don't like the team. I know that they finished quite high for their standards, but I think they'll get relegated this year because the rest of the league, in my opinion, got better. I think that the league got better in terms of quality of players all around. So I have them there. Right ahead, I have Valencia. I would like to put them a little bit more up in the table, but I don't think they've made great signings. I think Popelo, it's not the player that's going to make them have a huge jump. We saw what a mess they were last year, and they lost. In my opinion, I know Musa didn't do too well, but he's an upgrade on Popelo, and they downgraded there. And Oscar Carr, their center back, I don't think will make a huge difference as well. So I have them avoiding relegation, but battling up until the last day of the season. Above them, I have Cadiz. I think they did really well, honestly, for the stature of their club. Not much to say there. Really solid. They avoided the departure of their main players, so I have them there. And above them, a club that I think had a really interesting summer, Deportivo Alaves. I think that they had some good signings. You know, Blanco staying there after the loan spell. Simeone, who I don't really know if he's going to be like his brother or his father, but I'm just going by that. I think that he can probably do well for them based on the investment that they had on him. It's really hard for these clubs to invest a lot. And if they went all out, it's because they saw something there. And he has a good track record as a youth player. So maybe that translates to the pro level. And Maras too. I think Maras is a good experienced center back. Is going to help them. So those are the clubs that I think will be struggling and will be getting relegated. Over to you, Braden.
All right, so bottom of the league, I'm also going to go for a newly promoted club, but it's going to be a different one. I'm going to go for Las Palmas. They brought in the trader, Julian Araujo, and I think just for that, they deserve to go down. No, but all jokes aside, they didn't do too great last year in the Segunda División, and I don't really think they've upgraded as much. I just think it's a second division quality squad, and yeah, that's why I have them in last. 19th, this one's a bit sad to say because traditionally one of the biggest clubs in Spain, but I've got Valencia. Honestly, I mean, we've seen the financial turmoil, and this summer it's just been an absolute disaster. Losing Musa, Cavani, Lato, Kluivert, Mariba, Nico Gonzalez, Lino. I mean, they've lost so many key players, and they weren't even good last year. 16th, they were in the relegation battle till the end of the year, so I think it's going to be a complete capitulation this season, and I honestly debated having them in last. But I do think they do have a little bit of quality still left. But yeah, they'll go down. In 18th, the final relegated team, I'm going to go for Deportivo Alaves. I do think Antonio Blanco is a good player. I think they've had a good window, but I mean, they finished 4th in the Segunda División last year, and I don't think their signings have been that good to the point where they've overtaken that many teams to stay up. So close, 18th, last relegated team, but I think they will go back down. In 17th, I've gone for Almeria. I think the loss of El Torre, the striker, and Rodrigo Eli, the center back, I think those are going to be pretty big, but I do think the 2 teams below them are a lot worse in quality, and I'm backing my Flamengo boy Lazaro to have a much better second season than he did first time around. And yeah, I really like Luis Suarez as well. Obviously not the Luis Suarez, but I think he's still a pretty good striker. So I think those two will keep them up. And 16th, I think same as you, Yuri. I'm gonna go Cadiz. Like you said, a very impressive season considering the size of their club last year. And yeah, I think they more or less kept the same quality of squad in the transfer window, and I think they should be maybe not just fine. I think they'll still fight for relegation like we saw last year. I mean, basically anything can happen. So many teams were in the relegation battle, but I do think they will stay up. I like Darwin Makis coming in on loan. I think he could be a sneaky good signing for them. And then finally, in 15th, I'm going to go for Rayo Vallecano. They had a great season last year, outperforming, I think, what everyone thought they would do. But they've lost a lot of key players, Fran Garcia, the left back, being the main one, and I don't think they've brought in enough players to replace them, so it'll be a bit of a drop-off.
All right, good takes. Over to you, Arjun. You're repping a club in the league, so who are you predicting to go down and fight for survival?
So 20th, I got Alaves. They were one of the worst teams to come up that were promoted. Finished 4th in the Segunda Division last year. And yeah, I got them 20th. Pretty self-explanatory. So 19th, I got Las Palmas. They came up from the Segunda Division again, along with Alaves. And Las Palmas are kind of a yo-yo club in Spain. They're known for bouncing up and down in the semi-recent history of the league. But I think Las Palmas are not good enough to stay in the league this time. I think they're going to go straight back down. And 18th, I got Cadiz. Same as what Braden was saying about Cadiz. They aren't a good team, and I think they're going to go down, despite the fact they stayed up from last year. My 17th is Valencia, and they've been having a financial turmoil. They've been going through the sticks, like they've been in the trenches deep. And I'm going to be honest, Valencia, Braden was saying they would go down because of just how deep in the trenches they are. But I have faith in Valencia. They always pull it out. I mean, they're a big club in Spain. There's no way the team, the board, the directors, the owner of Valencia is just going to let the club just go straight down to the Segunda Division. That would be deadly for their financial. Dude, the La Liga itself, even now, it doesn't earn that much money. The Segunda Division earns barely anything compared to that. Like the La Liga is in the trenches right now, but also the Segunda Division is like so much more in the trenches. So Valencia would probably struggle down there for many years if they went down there. So they need a way to stay up, and I think they're going to pull it out. Academy players, extra cash, I don't know. But yeah, 16th, I got Mallorca. And again, they're just kind of a mid team, mid to bad. So I think they're just going to go. They're thinking just going to escape relegation this year. But yeah, 15th, Almeria. They made a lot of good signings, but they lost 2 key players. So I think they're just going to be hovering around that dangerous to relegation zone. So yeah.
All right, you finished with Almeria. I'm going to start mine with Almeria. I think that they are going to finish 14th, a mid-table for them, but a very flukish mid-table because, La Liga, I think they will be fighting for survival for most of the season. But I think that Luis Suarez, not the original one, is going to get them goals. I think Lopez, a really pacey player coming from Ligue 1, and Gonzalez as well. He's a good center back. Didn't have many chances at Betis, but I think he would be good at the back. Young, fresh blood that had experience in the league, probably looking to prove a point. In 13th, I have Getafe. I know it's probably a little bit low for them. They are a really solid team. Watching them, I think they're really well drilled, really disciplined side. At least for the games I watched, just making a disclaimer, I don't watch every game, but I watch at least one game per match week. And I think they'll be fine. I think Getafe have solidified themselves as a mid-table sort of club in La Liga. In 12th, a little bit of an underwhelming one. Sevilla, I expect a lot more. Grew up watching these guys be a really good team, but I don't rate any of their signings. Honestly, I think apart from nobody else really sticks out as a standout player. To move them up from the season that they had last year, which was already really disappointing. I think that without Unai Emery at the helm, they suffered quite a bit. So in 11th place, I have Mallorca, really mid-team. I think that I could easily see them not fighting for anything, not aspiring for anything, and not being too close to relegation as well, because I think they are, again, a really well-drilled side. They know how to sit back, a little bit pragmatic, but that works. It's shown to actually work in the league. In 10th place, I have Osasuna. I think Osasuna went really quiet, but considering last season, they managed to keep their most important players. I think they can be happy with that, and they were a good side, not conceding too many goals as well. So not a lot of firepower there, but I think they'll be fine. And the 10th place would be suitable for them. Over to you, Braden. Who are going to be the mid-table teams?
Okay, so starting out in 14th, I've got the final promoted team. It's Granada. They won the Segunda División last year, and I think they've strengthened quite nicely. I like Sean Weissman, the Israeli striker. I think he's pretty solid. Gonzalo Villar in the midfield. Jesus Vallejo coming in from Real Madrid on loan in the back. And another key thing is they haven't really lost anyone that was too big in their side last year. So I do think they'll have enough to stay up. And I mean, obviously they'll be in a relegation battle because this is La Liga. Half the league will be, but I do think they'll have enough to stay up. In 13th, I'm going for Getafe. They had a pretty quiet transfer window, I would say, but they made a few decent signings and just a slight improvement on last season, going up 2 spots. Not much really more to say there. In 12th place, I've got Osasuna. They had a really good season last year, finishing 7th, qualifying for the Europa Conference League. After a court appeal, it was revealed that they will be playing in that competition. They had previously been banned due to some match fixing in the past, but that's been overturned, which is good for them. I mean, for a club their size, I think it's cool to be playing in Europe, but I do think that will have a big impact on them negatively in La Liga. I don't think they'll be used to the extra fixtures. They're losing Abdi, who was a great player for them last season. And yeah, I just think they're going to drop off hard here into 12th. In 11th, I'm going for Girona, the Catalan side. I think they've lost some key players. Tati Castellanos, the former MLS striker, Rodrigo Riquelme, Oriol Romeu, but I do like some of their signings. Daley Blind's an interesting one, experienced in the back. Pablo Torre and Sapio both coming in on loan, some very exciting youngsters, and I think if they perform, Girona could have a pretty solid season. And at the end of the day, I think their squad is still a lot better, or at least a little bit better than the teams I have below them. And then in 10th, rounding this out, I'm going for Mallorca. I think, like you said, Yuri, they're a really well-drilled side. They almost got relegated in their first season back, but since then they've pushed up, finished 9th last year, become a mid-table side, and yeah, I just think they're going to stay there consistently this season.
All right, over to you, Arjun. Who are the other clubs to fight for their lives up until the end, but finish mid-table?
All right, 14th, I got Granada for the same reasons Braden said. They're just a mid-team, but did they get promoted from the Segunda Division last year? Did well to do that, but yeah, they're going to be fighting for relegation again this year. 13th, I got Athletic Bilbao. They were really good last year, but they lost an insane amount of talent. They lost Inigo Martinez. They lost their striker, whom I forgot the name of, but it's the guy, Villa Libre. Yeah, and amongst a lot of other players, they lost a lot of their main key core. And Athletic Bilbao is a club where they pride themselves on a rule where they only sign players from the Basque region in Spain. So they can't really bring in any superstars. And they always develop their players or buy from previously sent out overseas players, because they got Ander Herrera from PSG, and he was obviously a Basque-born player, so he's playing for Athletic Bilbao. But due to the fact that lost so many key players, I do not see them staying up. So I got Bilbao not staying up. I don't see them being as good as they were last year. So Bilbao is gonna be 13th for me. 12th, I got Vallecano. Vallecano, they were mid last year, and they're gonna be mid this year, but they're consistently mid team, so no relegation threats for them, I feel. And 11th, I got Getafe, and Getafe, they play really well, like Yuri said. They're a well-drilled team, and they're like a La Liga regular for a past while now. They're always amongst the La Liga mid-table or fighting for relegation teams, and I think they're going to stay up again this year, and they're going to be right in the mid-table position. So Getafe is going to be 11th. And 10th, I got RC Celta de Vigo. Now, I really like Celta Vigo because Luca Del Torre plays for them, and also they have a really cool badge. But also Aspas is one of my all-time favorite La Liga players. He's just a baller, and he scored so many goals against Barcelona, my club. But I still admire him. And Celta Vigo, they were all right last year. They're gonna continue to be all right. They're gonna be 10th for me.
All right, now the clubs that I believe can fight for an European spot but won't ultimately do it. I have Villarreal in 9th place. I think they're a good team. Some good signings, but a really terrible preseason. I watched them because I was a little bit bored, and they look awful. Only one win, again, a fluke win as well. A really terrible preseason. A lot of turmoil behind the scenes. Some accusations, as we always see with the Liga clubs, of some tax problems. And yeah, I just think that I like how they signed Brereton. I think he's the Chilean English guy. I think he's a good player, but the loss of Chuck Weezy will be too much for them to cope with, and I think they ultimately have a little bit of a drop off. In 8th place, Athletic Bilbao. I think they're always solid, always a good team. I like how they pride themselves to be a Basque club, and they only cite people from the Basque region or with connections to it. They expanded a little bit, loosened it up a little bit with allowing players that were born somewhere else and have connections with the region. That's completely fine. And in 7th place, I have Salto de Vigo. I really like their summer. I think they had a really good summer. I know it's a huge jump up from last season, but based on their signings, I think they went off this summer. A lot of signings, a lot of new signings, and they actually had a good preseason, which was a little bit rare. All of these La Liga clubs are struggling a little bit, and I think I trust them. There's a lot of positivity around the club that they actually managed to stay up, so I'll back them to have a shock run, but not as much of a shock as the next one. Girona. I think that Girona can actually get all the way at 6. I know it sounds crazy, but I know they lost some crucial players, but Torre and Young Couto. I think Young Couto always delivers at this level. He mentioned this was the first time that he actually trained during preseason. He had some problems with professionalism previously. That's why City ultimately didn't ever use him. But I like him. I like Daley Blind. I think that for this level, he'll do well. And, you know, La Liga is forgiving to players that are a little bit slow at the back. And with his technical ability, I think he could thrive and lead them all the way to that spot. And rounding up the club that I think that almost will fight for a spot in top 4, but won't get it, is Real Sociedad. Good season for them last year, but a little bit of a drop off. And the thing that separated them from actually even having a better season was goals. And I don't think that Andrés Silva, especially with the price tag that he had, is a wise signing for them. So I have them finishing 5th, but a respectable finish for them. I know that almost every fan will be happy with that. What about you, Braden?
Okay, so in 9th place, I've got Celta Vigo. Like you guys said, I really like their business. Jonathan Bamba coming in from Lille, I think, is a great player. I think he'll definitely help them score more. Maybe it'll hurt Luca De La Torre's playing time, which isn't great for Americans, but I think it will make the team better. So yeah, I've got them in 9th, improvement on last season. In 8th, I'm going to go for Sevilla. I think they'll bounce back a little bit. Last season was very uncharacteristic for them, finishing in 12th. They did still win the Europa League, as they always do. So they will be playing in the Champions League, which could hurt them a little bit, but I think they'll just be knocked out, go right back to the Europa League like they always do. Maybe win it again, who knows? But yeah, I think they'll bounce back a little bit, but not enough to get into the top 7. And in 7th, I've actually gone for Villarreal. The outgoings are too big to ignore. Nicolas Jackson going to Chelsea, Pau Torres going to Aston Villa, Chukwueze going to AC Milan. I do like the signing of Brereton Diaz, the English Chilean. I think Sorloth as well is a pretty good striker, so maybe the goals will replace Jackson. But yeah, I don't know. I think all the players that have gone out are just too important to the team, so I think they will fall off a little bit here, finishing 7th. In 6th, I'm going to go for Bilbao. I just really like the way the club is run. Only signing Basque players, obviously. I think it's a great way to run a club. It's not obviously going to bring as much success, maybe, but it's very respectable and traditional. And I mean, you always got to root for them just because of that. And I think they're just a well-drilled team, honestly. They did lose Inigo Martinez, which I think will be a pretty big loss, but besides that, I still think their squad's pretty solid, and I think the teams below them have weakened a little bit, so that's why I've got them in 6th. And then the final team, just missing out on Champions League. This one was really a toss-up between 2 teams here, but I ended up going for Real Betis. I do think that they had a better transfer window than the team I'm going to have in 4th, but I don't think the signings they made are Champions League quality, to be honest, and you do kind of need that to finish top 4 in La Liga. I mean, I like Marc Roca, but he did just get relegated in the Premier League. I just think their signings are pretty mid, to be honest. But they didn't really lose anyone too big, which is a plus. But yeah, 5th place.
All right, and it's also nice to mention that Bilbao never got relegated. That's really impressive with the limitations that they have with their transfer policy. But over to you, Arjun.
Yeah, so in 9th place, I got Osasuna. They've been doing decent in the league for the past couple seasons now. And I remember watching them in 2016, 2017. And they were not doing well at all. They were a completely worse team than they are now. So shout out to Osasuna for like really growing as a team these past couple of years, because they've really came into their own as as a La Liga a staple. And obviously playing in 2 competitions, playing in the Conference League, they're going to have more work to do and more challenges to work with injuries and all that. But Osasuna have been doing well in the league, so I'm going to back them to do well again. So I got them 9th. 8th, I got them Sevilla. It's going to be an upgrade from last season, like Braden said. So not much to say there for me. So I'm just going to move on to 7th. I got Villarreal. So Villarreal, again, they did well last season, but again, this season, I don't think that they have enough quality in their ranks to be able to break the top 4 or become a European team. Yet, even though they were these past couple seasons, again, like beating Manchester United in the Europa League a couple seasons ago and producing some big famous wins against like McKennie and Juventus and teams like that. But I think Villarreal this season won't have it in them to get into that top 4, top 6. 6th, I got Betis. Like Braden mentioned, like Yuri mentioned, they're a historically big club in Spain, but their transfers have let me down. They haven't really brought in anyone of name, and I would say that they're not gonna have the best season. Where in terms of like breaking the Champions League spots and being top 4. So 5th, I got Real Sociedad, another historically big club in Spain. They always do well. The Anoeta Stadium is always a fortress to play, and it's always really hard to play in there. And they're just going to continue to be a really good team. I got them finishing 5th.
All right, now starting my top 4. Braden said it was a toss-up for him between these 2 clubs, which I would just assume. You guys placed them just outside of it, but I really like Real Betis summer. I think it was really good. Marc Bartra did really well there in the past. I think Isco, he mentioned that it was the first time he felt motivated during preseason in a long time. I think he's a really quality player. We've all seen what he can do. Bellerin did well there too, has a connection with the fans, and Jose Perez, in my opinion, will do really well. It's the first time he's going back to his home nation ever since he left for Newcastle. I think they had a good summer. Obviously, it's going to be really tight, but I back Betis to actually qualify. I like their club. And in 3rd place, I have Atletico de Madrid. I'm sorry, that's just their spot in the league. It seems like it. These days, they don't really rock up the league like they have in the past. So it seems like Simeone's time, maybe that cycle was done. He's even trying to change the way that he approaches the game. And I know that their defense was one of the reasons why they leaked too many goals, especially for a Simeone team. But I don't think that Aspi, Galanes, or Junto are going to change that too much, honestly. Really slow backline, in my opinion, but they will have enough to finish in their spot, as always, 3rd place. 2nd place, I go for Barcelona. Sorry, I know they had a great season last year, but I think that with Champions League football, they won't cope with it too much, and especially since I think that midfield won't do too well this year, especially with the amount of games they're going to have. I rate them, but I think that Real Madrid, especially after losing last year, they will come back with a chip on their shoulders. We all know their squad, it's really good. But I think that their summer was a little bit underwhelming for Real Madrid summer. Only Bellingham, because don't let the Brazilian press fool you. Endrick, even when he goes there, it's not worth the amount that they spent and the attention that they spent for a summer signing. So just Bellingham there, but I think they'll win it. What about you, Braden?
Yeah, so in 4th, I think you were right to assume I've got Real Sociedad. Like I said earlier, Real Betis I did think had a better window, but I think the overall gap in quality is just a little bit too much, and I specifically really like the signing of Amari Traore to fill that right back role. I've been saying in past videos that I didn't think they had a quality right back. I mentioned Serginho Dest as a player who could slot in there, but obviously we know his situation. And yeah, I think Traore was really quality in Liga 1, so he'll be a great fit there. I think Andre Silva is a proven striker. He'll score a decent amount of goals for sure for them. But yeah, definitely not enough quality to even come close to the top 3, to be honest. In 3rd, like you said, I mean, it's Atletico Madrid. It's their spot in the league. They have fallen off a little bit, unfortunately. They won the league a couple years ago, but they're too focused on defense, in my opinion. They're only signing Scala, Azpilicueta, Soyuncu. They're good defenders, but they need to strengthen the attack more, especially with João Felix looking like he's going to be leaving. We don't know the destination yet, but I don't think he's going to stay. And yeah, I just don't think they have enough quality anymore to challenge Real Madrid and Barcelona. I mean, we see so many strange results for Atletico than just losing 1-0 to some relegation fodder club. And yeah, so they won't have enough to challenge the top two. In second, maybe it's a little bit biased, but I'm going for Real Madrid. I mean, we saw the gap in quality last year. I do really like the signing of Bellingham. I think he's a top quality player. He's definitely one of the best midfielders in the world, and their midfield, honestly, is set for the next 10, 15 years. So props to them for that. Fran Garcia and Brahim Diaz coming back from loan, their previous Castilla players, could make a difference, but I don't know if they're exactly Real Madrid quality yet. And the main reason I have them in second and not first is the loss of Benzema. I mean, he's been their star man for the past several seasons, ever since Ronaldo left. And I don't think they're going to be able to cope with the loss of him. Joselu is a good player in La Liga, but he's not a Real Madrid quality player, to be honest, even though he did score a very impressive bicycle kick in preseason. So I think the loss of Benzema is going to play a real impact on Real Madrid, which is why I have Barcelona winning the league. Mezqueon Club, read Arjun's name. The signings in the summer have been a little bit underwhelming, like Yuri said, but I do like Gundogan a lot. I think he's a very underrated player. Always came up clutch for Man City in the biggest games, and I think he can have the same impact for Barca. The loss of Busquets is a big one. I mean, he's been the staple of the sixth position for a while, and I don't really rate Oriol Romeu coming in, but I do think Pedri and Gavi continuing to get better as they grow in age, and the emergence of Fermin Lopez in the midfield as well could play a big part. Inigo Martinez in the back is just a solid La Liga defender, and Ez Abdi coming back from loan, assuming he stays. He has said he wants a little bit more game time, but I think if Xavi gives him that game time, I think he's going to be absolutely class. I've always rated him from the lockdown days of Barcelona having no money, having to play these youngsters. I mean, he was one that really stood out to me, and I think if he stays, he could have a really big impact on this league. So yeah, that's why I've got Barcelona winning it.
Yeah, before I go to Arjun, let me just say, if Vitor Roque was at Barcelona and not just starting to play only after December, I would have him winning the league. I think he's that good. Over to you, Arjun. Who do you have winning the league, making up top four?
So yeah, top four for me. Fourth position's the biggest shock you guys are ever going to hear. Okay, this is either going to be genius for me or it's going to be completely like bat crap crazy. I've got Girona coming in fourth, getting a Champions League position in La Liga. They have made some great signings in my opinion, and they have really impressed me during preseason. They're a really well put together team, and they're part of City Group, which is the bunch of teams that makes up Man City, New York City FC, and Girona. They're all part of City Group, and with that financial backing, with that amazing system of like other clubs, there are lots of Girona players that have went to Man City and Man City players that have came to Girona. Getting all these amazing signings in my opinion, like Sigankov, Daley Blind, Herrera, Couto, Pablo Torre, the guy that I wish Barcelona kept because I really rate him a lot. I love the kid, but he is on loan at Girona. And Artem Dovbyk, if you all know Ukrainians, he's a really top-class Ukrainian striker. He's been balling out in the Ukrainian league for years now. And yeah, Girona just makes class signings like that. And I got them coming in fourth, shocking the world. Number three, I got Atletico. Like y'all said, Atletico is a third place club, just like how Arsenal used to be a fourth place club in Premier League. So yeah, Atleti coming in third. Second, I got Real Madrid, and obviously first I got FC Barcelona, my club. And talk about Real Madrid, again, loss of Benzema is going to be a massive factor for them. I don't see Joselu replicating how integral Benzema was for this Real Madrid team. Every attack either came through him or finished with him, and I don't think Joselu is that player to be dictating attacks like that. Because Benzema was not only a finisher, he was also a creator. He was also a guy who drops in the midfield. And I don't think Joselu has what it takes to be a Benzema-esque player. Now, if they sign Mbappe, that's going to change everything. I'm still going to back my club because it's my club, Barcelona, right? But if they sign Mbappe, it might be a bit of a challenge for us. Arda Güler, Tchouameni, Camavinga, Vinicius, Mbappe, Bellingham, all these players, even with the old guard like Modric and Kroos there, the best of the whole last decade, teaching these young stars like Guler, like it's a scary thought to think about. And honestly, the Galacticos are back in my opinion. The 2002 Galacticos, 2017 Galacticos, Real Madrid is honestly back for this season. And if they sign Mbappe, it's gonna be scary for us. But obviously, I'm gonna bark Barcelona. So Barcelona, Lamine Yamal, my wonder kid, my goat. I love the kid. He's a baller. In preseason, he crossed up Teo Hernandez, 16-year-old. I know it's preseason, but like, you know, whatever. I'm heavily biased here. So yeah, comments can roast me for all of this. I'm heavily biased here. And obviously, Gundogan is a brilliant footballer. He's a Pep Guardiola taught footballer for the past 7 years. He's going to fit right into the Barcelona system. There's going to be no acclimation time for him. He's going to be right there from the start. Oriol Romeu, I like Braden said, I don't think he can be a Busquets replacement. But I don't think Busquets is a player we need to replace heavily in the fact that we can build a system that works around the need to use Busquets' role. Like Barcelona plays a 4-man system now where either Gavi, Pedri, De Jong, or like last season it was Kessié, Gundogan. Four midfielders just in the middle of the field. They rotate around like that. And Balde works up the left flank. So yeah, I don't think Busquets is going to be a massive loss in terms of our squad's playing ability. Yeah, and I back obviously Pedri and Gavi, the 2 star boys from back in 2020, and yeah, not much more to be said. I think Barcelona are gonna win the league, and we're gonna claim our 2nd La Liga title in a row.
All right, I don't think that's heavily biased. It's not an absurd thing to say that Barca wins. Honestly, I think the comments would be forgiven as well. And yeah, thank you so much, Braden. Thank you, Arjun. We hope you guys enjoyed this video, and that let us know what you think about our takes and any requests for future videos, and what you guys are thinking about these series of predictions for the top 5 leagues. Like, subscribe, share with your friends. We appreciate all the new subscribers as well. Thank you so much. See you next time.